Feel free to start, Steve.
Good morning, everyone. Call this meeting to order, April 20th, 2021. First order of business is a reading of the minutes from the previous meeting, which I was not attending. I have a motion to approve the minutes or comments on those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
We need Bill.
I think he's going to be late.
Yeah, remember, he's getting his second COVID shot today. He was going to join us late.
Okay, we'll just push the approval of those minutes back. I cannot comment on this. Therefore, the first order of business is Wolf, 237 North Street. We have an HSR on the property. It is not 100 years old, but it is 50 years old. Prospectus did their evaluation, determined that it is not historically, even though it is 50 years old. And therefore, cases would not have an adverse effect on its significance. And they also determined it would not have an adverse effect on the proximate historically significant structures.
I read that differently, Steve.
Okay.
First of all, this is from last year.
But it does comment on the house, and I thought it said the house is historically significant as a potential contributing structure.
Yes.
All right.
Here we go.
But-
The first thing under conclusions, read that. Does meet the standards of
On
historic
that
significance.
screen, yeah.
Yeah, I'm.
So their conclusions about the project are irrelevant because they pertain to the garage, but their general, and Harry asked if we thought we needed a separate report for this,
Right.
but I think the conclusions about the house are clear enough that we can treat it as being historically significant and go from there. And that's a higher
Alright.
standard if the project.
I accept your correction.
So, because we did the garage last year, as you just said, the significance report relates to the garage that was demoed and reconstructed last fall. The owner wanted to get the garage done last fall and now is looking to add a first floor master so that they can stay in the house. What you're looking at there is there is a small, it's now a bathroom, but when it was first constructed, I believe it was like a little dining area stuck on the back of the house where the dashed lines are in the lower corner. Harry, could you move? Let me see.
Would you like, Phil? I can do.
Yeah.
Let me go to
Yeah, go to the next. The A2. So what we're doing is we pushed the garage off the property line so that it was in compliance, and you have to kind of steer around the house. So we added this bedroom, bathroom, and a new rear entry to bring, and it's all designed so that you can still get in the garage and get in and out of the garage. The house is extended out to the 3-foot property line, and it drops in grade considerably. So if you look at the next page, Harry, elevations,
Mhm.
You can see that by the time you get to the rear corner, it's almost to a new basement level. We talked about, what could we do to, whether he wants to open it up, and he doesn't care to do it. We had a deck drawn on the rear, and he didn't want to do that either. So this is just pretty straightforward. The high windows on the rear elevation are over the bed, and the windows are all sized to match what's existing. I put muttons in or grills in the square windows because I like how they look, and we've repeated that wherever, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, basically.
Right.
The existing windows in the basement are probably going to end up being replaced. They're original, but everything is, the pitches on the roof match the shingles. I convinced him when he first moved into the house and we were talking about the garage, the lower level had already been on the house, had already been covered with vinyl siding, but the upper level was shingles that were in pretty bad shape, wood shingles that were in pretty bad shape. So I convinced him to just go in and clean up the shingles and put a fresh coat of paint on them. So it's vinyl siding below wood shingles.
Gotcha.
We're proposing to match that configuration on this small addition.
Yeah, I think this is nice. I see what we're trying to do with everything, and I like it. If you go back up to the elevations, Harry, go to the right. Whoop, there you go. In this elevation, I was thinking, wow, those shingles are coming down low, but I think it's just because your belly board or your freeze board, I feel like should actually track around the back rear elevation right over those windows. And it got lost on that just in the rear elevation drawing.
Okay.
So if the freeze boards track, so they help like separate the shingles from the siding below, I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, I agree.
Other than that, I don't have any comments. I mean, I think this is nice, and it's a tricky, tricky to fit it in with the garage. You're close to the garage, so you've got whatever fire issues probably you're dealing with Harry. And then I think maybe that master suite, you may want to move the door over so your master bath and closet are inside it, but for privacy. But other than that, I think this thing is I think it's a very nice little addition tucked in, and I don't think it has any adverse effect because I think it's clearly distinguishable from the house.
Yeah.
And then what kind of windows are you putting in?
All the windows are vinyl now. They've all been switched out before he got there. So
The new windows are going to be vinyl too. I know you're doing vinyl siding, but you're doing new vinyl windows.
no, you know what? I'm not sure I even talked to him. My preference is always wood clad, aluminum clad wood.
Yeah.
But That's my preference. In fact,
That would help, because I
I-
understand you're trying to tie the vinyl to the existing house.
yeah.
Right.
Maybe you could do something. with the
I
windows.
think my preference, honestly, because these are all venting the little 12 by 12 or 20, 30 by 30s, whatever. They're all venting and you can't do that in vinyl. So it's
Okay.
gonna be Pella wood.
Okay,
And then if you could, commit to using like, the AZAC trim that matches the dimension of the house and subsills so that it has that traditional look. I think those, like that group of three, looks like it might not have a subsill shown, but I think if you use those, I
Okay,
think that's helpful.
so yeah, extend the freeze around. I think that's a great idea, and we'll put a heavier freeze board on there and roll the shingles out just a titch. We'll add subsill to the windows and boral trim.
Right.
And I think that's,
Mhm.
those are good
Um,
suggestions. I agree completely.
Let's, Wendy, are you working on a list there?
Yeah. I've got a motion if you're ready.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Is this
motion-
for final?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Preliminary.
Preliminary,
I've been waiting to mark up the drawings for the engineers markups. So did you submit these to RSA at all? Harry?
No, because if you look on the, I had some questions on the cover page for you, Phil.
Oh, okay. Okay.
so this is preliminary approval
Yes,
still?
yeah.
Okay, so motion for preliminary approval of plans is presented with wood or aluminum clad windows to add trim details and continuation of freeze board to rear elevation.
Oral.
See.
I second.
Joan, you got all that?
Wendy, can you just repeat it? I'm sorry, or you can just send it to me if you want.
I'll do it one more time. Motion for preliminary approval with wood or aluminum clad windows to add trim details and continuation of freeze board to rear elevation.
Trim and boral.
Okay,
Oral
Indeed.
trim.
Boral trim.
boral trim.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay. King,
Yes,
Naylor,
Yes.
and Childs is absent. Okay,
very
Thank
good.
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Phil, if you look on the first page, I think I had some notes on there for you. That was sent in your package. It's about grading and stuff like that.
Okay, 271 Bell Street.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
My
Good, how are you all?
Good.
Good. Welcome, David.
Oh, David, hi.
An HSR for 271 Bell. Does meet the standards of a historically significant house. Over 100 years old. It's well preserved for the most part. They've determined the following proposed changes diminish the character of the house as reviewed from the street. Large volume added to the house, transom windows, stylized pilasters, bed mold, crown and paneling, and so forth. They suggest lowering the roof line and using different materials. General consideration. So let's take a look at the plans.
Do you want to accept the HSR?
Yes, I move to accept.
Receive. Okay, second, or however you want.
Motion by King, second by Naylor to accept HSR. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes,
Okay. Hey, Dave, before we get moving here, just so you're aware, there's only 2 voting members currently. So if they go to vote on this and it goes down as a tie, then the motion would fail. So you'll
Okay,
have an option before they vote whether or not you want to move forward. Mr. Childs will be joining us sometime this morning. I just don't know when.
okay.
Here we go. Wait, could you go up to the site plan just for a sec?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Harry. Okay. So it really relates from the street. It leaves that front house as it, doesn't touch the front house. It really relates sideways to the rear. Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, Dave, we'll turn it over to you and you just tell me what page you
Okay.
want me to go to. We'll start with elevations, obviously. So
Yeah, so, like George had said, that really, when we were looking at this, the idea was to try to leave that original portion of the house, by itself, so we didn't impact that. I believe the rear, and I think it even said so in the report, was probably not original to the house, which is what kind of facilitated where it goes, and it also worked well for the layout because that's where Tom's kitchen is right now. So, and the other design intent was to not do this thing out of brick, try to make it stand out on its own, so we're not trying to fool anybody into thinking this was original to the house. The idea is to get a nice sunroom, sitting room for him. The house is, by today's standards, fairly small, so it would give him a room that he would like to watch TV or whatever. So in doing that, I guess I tend to want to make it as nice as possible. So that's why I did, I didn't want to have any siding on this. I was trying to keep it to basically all trim and recessed paneling as much as possible, to try to use a consistent window size around at least the 2 sides, and keep it as a low roof so it would not have, wouldn't compete with the height or the scale of the existing house. Looking at the HSR report, I think I could see where they are coming from, and I think I could, maybe the owner might be open to, I could probably reduce a couple feet out of the width. Looking at the front elevation, that width, it may be a little bit out of the depth. If you go to the floor plan, Harry, up. One more, there you go. You can see there's these 3 existing openings I'm trying to bring, have into the room. The intent is not to touch these, so I could bring some of that width down. I talked to the contractor, I can get the pseudo fireplace down and still fit the stove that they're going to use. So I could try to reduce some of that massing. So I think I get probably that 19 feet coming from the house down to maybe about 17. And then whatever that width is, I could probably take about a good 16 inches out of that, I think. It will, without, I think, maybe making a huge impact as far as the use of the room.
Push it further back from the front elevation.
Yeah, so it'll get closer to that existing door opening that's there now.
Oh, I see. Well, and I mean, this is just straightforward. You're adding a room and a little covered patio, but you're basically you're kind of replacing. I mean, that's your rear entry as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think it's successfully scaled down from the house with the flat roof. The historic report did not object to the flat roof, and I tend to think the flat roof is a pretty good solution here because it does differentiate so clearly, you know, and I like the fact that you don't have siding on it, that it's paneled. It looks like you're doing basically straightforward, you know, Greek revival trim, classical trim, but it's not, you know, I thought when I was reading the report, I was thinking, I was like, did I see fluted columns or something overly decorative? I did not, I mean, I don't see a lot of that. So I'm not sure that a kind of straightforward Greek revival look is a bad look, because I think it's still very clearly differentiated from the house, from the existing house. I think that's a good idea to leave the brick on the interior. You're planning on that, right? It looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's nice, but I'm not sure making the room, you know, maybe it could be I'm not sure making the room a little smaller is actually a good idea, because you know, my dread for any client is that I make a room a little bit too small.
Yeah.
And it's all about furniture layouts, and
Right.
you know, all of a sudden they can't quite lay out the furniture they imagined in there. So I mean, I don't think that's going to change things that much. I guess the big question is the transom windows. They didn't, once again, bother me as kind of their own, like this room is kind of its own thing. I didn't think it clashed with the house, honestly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm curious what Phil thinks about that.
The difficulty I have with the transom windows, I mean, I like, you know, what you came up with. I like the cadence and the scale of the things. I'm a little, you know, to me, it seems almost too much detail. And the windows, the transom windows, I just got to believe that there's a better way to do that. I mean, what if you just made them tall, narrow windows? I mean, what?
Taller windows.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can certainly eliminate the transoms with taller windows, and
You
save a bunch of
you lose so much in the framing of those transoms.
So
The design of that house is very simple. And I
Yeah,
think that
Exactly.
I think the simplicity of it is what's so wonderful about it. And I'm not seeing any paired windows in the existing house. And I'm wondering if you can translate that somehow into a simpler design in the sunroom.
Yeah.
Because I agree, I think the scale's good. I think you've set it back. I think you've tied it to the house, but I'm still finding that too much action going on.
Did you look at like just tall casements or something?
So I did look at tall casements. The owner did want double hung. Not that we could have that discussion. I could look at making a taller window. I think in response to, I guess, the amount of detailing going on there, my thought is it's a sunroom, so we're not trying to repeat the aesthetics of the existing house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that once we have this thing all painted out white, it's going to flatten out. All those lines you're seeing are going to become very blurred. I guess I hesitate to make it too simple.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think your next step towards simple is making this a complete modern design.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the board would prefer that. If you want to see one window,
It's
instead
kind of
of-
a solids and voids pattern. That's where I'm going. It's something needs to blend a little more with the existing house. And I know you're trying to do a sunroom.
I'm coming from a different direction altogether here. This is known as the schoolhouse on Bell Street. If you say, you know, that schoolhouse on Bell Street, they know what house you're talking about. It's not unlike a house that's just undergone a transformation farther out on the Walters. Maybe it's beginning of Hemlock. in the past year. They've doubled the size of the house, and it was essentially a simple little house like this. Simple meaning the main word for sure. And I guess this much glass. It's a sunroom, a TV sunroom. The view of the street from where this is quite limited. The backyard is beautiful. So I think your glass ought to go more out the back or the west end. And I don't know why you need to set it apart. Old houses have additions all the time. This is an addition, very old addition.
Yeah,
And having an addition that says, hey, I'm an addition, it's not a terrible thing. This shouts addition for sure. It's very formal compared to this extremely simple brick house. I think the house is offended by having those shutters on the front of it. That's too fancy for this house. And moving towards simplicity, I don't know, as a flat roof is an advantage. I mean, if it looked like in an old house, it would be, the room that goes and the next thing is the barn type of thing. Wendy's right, simplicity and pilasters and raised panel, there's nothing near that on this old house. I wouldn't try to hide the addition. I wouldn't try to hide the addition.
I would argue, well, I think there is a reason to make this counterpoint at taking Dave's point of view for a sec. And that is that you've got a very solid house with some punched openings, very simple, but it's a solid. And then your client's asking you for a glass room. So it's primarily windows. So, I mean, already you're looking at something like, I think if you try to make this like brick with some windows, you're only going to get like halfway to a black glass room, or it's going to look pretty strange. I mean, I guess you could do those the pilasters in brick would be one way to keep them simple. But the windows, I think this is going to be a calmer approach than, and I agree. I mean, I think you can get rid of a lot of lines by just extending the double hungs upward. And then kind of taking your point, Steve, like I think using pairs of double hungs is going to feel more comfortable with this simple double hung house. There are double hung windows with no grids, no muntins. And I mean, maybe there is a way to make this simpler if you do brick pilasters, and all you do is like 12 by 12 brick pilasters around the thing. But I do think that kind of calm, like it's a pretty calm approach. When you paint it white, no one's going to think twice about it. And I think that the flat roof keeps it, I think it really lets the little schoolhouse stay little in a way, because this reads like a separate thing.
yeah. My fear would be put a gable roof on this, and it would totally drown out the original house. I think that would be
big, really big.
That would be a mistake, especially at the roof pitch it has.
I do think that neck mold, to be super picky, but Bill's not here. The neck mold ought to come down so it's like a third up, then above half.
Yeah.
That's just my classical comment.
Yeah. And I'm not, I think the biggest thing for me is the windows. It works. It accomplishes what the owner wants to accomplish. Push it in, push it out a little bit. I don't think it really substantially changes how this is gonna feel.
Right.
But
So don't make it a foot smaller, because if it's too small, it's a terrible waste.
So if I could look at changing the windows, and if I, what if I remove the recessed panel on the columns and just leave it under the windows.
Yeah,
Right,
I think that works better.
right.
And maybe, yeah, now, I don't need to, I like the way those project. I kind of had in my head, this was some kind of screen porch at one point with a colonnade, and that we filled it in.
Right.
That was kind of the story I was creating in my head as I did it. So if I could try to simplify some of that, if that would help.
The detail,
I agree.
that detail is almost more, a Victorian kind of pilaster.
Yeah,
And we're trying to, keep this simple, and Greek was generally pretty simple. So,
Mhm. No, that's,
I-
what, Harry, can you go to
I
the
think
side elevation?
I think sometimes I wish I just drawn trees on it, and that's probably what it's gonna look like, and no one's gonna even see this thing.
You're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
There's the rear, oh wait, what about the side elevation? Well, go up to the rear elevation that doesn't cut through the entry.
Yeah.
Which is nice, I think.
Yeah.
Same comments. Then what about the side elevation? I think the side elevation shows how far back this thing sets, which is really critical. Oh yeah, right there. Down. There we go. Thank you. I mean, I think that shows you really stepping back and letting the old schoolhouse still retain its
Yeah.
character completely, which to me is a successful strategy. I just think that's the right way to go. So much better than if it was on the side of that schoolhouse form.
And it clearly still reads as an addition,
I did.
obviously. So we're in, I mean, I used to do a little more historic work before, and that was always critical at least for the state of Ohio, is that, the additions read as additions, so you can still identify the original house.
Right.
Or structure.
So are we ready for a revise and resubmit?
Yeah.
Motion to revise and resubmit with restudy of windows and simplification of design.
Sounds good. I second that.
Okay, motion by Naylor, seconded by King for revise and resubmit. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
okay.
Is that submission this Thursday, Harry? Or
Friday.
Friday? Friday. See you Friday.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Dave.
You're welcome. Grove Hill. The fence.
Yes. So let me give you a little background here why Christie brings up Amy. This fence is in conjunction with the Village of Chagrin Falls. It's a fence that's dividing the proposed Grove Hill Park from the back of the Galucci House at 3 West Summit Street. So it was part of the deal to save the Grove Hill House. It's like one of the last components. So Amy's,
And it's just across the hill in a straight line.
correct.
I mean, I think this is really straightforward. It's going to be done nicely.
Right.
I think we should just go ahead and vote on this and say, let's do it.
I think she's going to bring Amy Sargent from the Western Reserve Land Conservancy is supposed to talk about it. So
Right.
Oh, well, good morning, everyone. I'm not sure what you need me to present or share here, but if you had any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Where does the fence sit in relationship to the bluff?
It's about halfway down the hill. It's sort of separates the property in half. So there's a half acre towards the
Yeah, there's
top.
kind of that drop, as I recall, on the property. So is the fence just at the lower end of the?
Closer to the base of that drop.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to determine why we need a fence.
I think it's being offered to differentiate the property from the private residence from the village-owned portion of the property.
So people just don't wander up the hill and kind of feel like they're entitled to.
Exactly, because I
go
think
up.
that historically people have walked through that property and accessed the sidewalk and gone up right past the house. So this is to offer a little bit of privacy and separation to the residents. And then it will also kind of delineate where the park is that belongs to the village.
So, okay, I think I answered my own question. I see the gate and then the fence ends at the top of the wall. Yeah, it has to.
Correct.
Okay,
That's
got
correct.
it.
We wanted the gate put in there because of access in case we have to get to the backside of the wall for the service department, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it runs straight across the hill and has a little tail on it, but it doesn't really.
What's the tail for?
That's a gate on the other
That's
side. I think.
second gate. At the
Gate at
other.
either end?
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure if that's the end of the fence. You don't need a gate, so
Well, there's, I believe there's a little stone wall in there on that edge of the property.
Is it the foundations, the old foundations for the greenhouses, I think? Is that right?
that's way up there.
Yeah, I think it's higher. So in other words, this gate is abutting some kind of existing stone foundation or wall or,
You know, I don't recall, I know that the fence is to go to the end of the property and there's a lot of vegetation and I don't recall, I'm envisioning a portion of a stone fence there, but, or a stone wall, but I'd have to go and look again. But that was at the request of the village and the homeowner to have, a gate at either end.
gates on either end.
So
Okay.
Galucci's in on this.
Oh, yeah.
I think, I mean, I think you could give them the benefit of the doubt that it all makes sense, or we could have it like taped out or something and go look at it. I mean, I'm inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt that it all makes sense, but that's the other way to do it, is actually like have somebody do it in orange tape and then we could see where it really is. Cause I think
Is
it's
it staked
impossible.
out at all? Was it staked out at all?
Yes, there are some stakes in there from when we had the survey done for the property boundary, and that area has also been cleared in preparation for the fence.
Mhm. It sounds fine. I personally like to take a look at it if there's no rush.
I don't think there's a real rush on this, if anyone wanted
Timeline,
space.
timeline for its installation?
Well, it will take a couple of months once we order materials for the materials to come in. So, and the fencing contractor, Henry Fence, doesn't want to order materials until we have approval here.
Yeah. Okay,
Do we
I
have
don't
an
think it
objection?
sounds like it's a problem at all. I would like to look at it.
So you want to table for 2 weeks and then we'll go out and take a peek at the site and just
Sounds
understand
good.
what this means.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Sure.
sounds good. And this is a metal fence, correct?
Aluminum, yeah.
Right.
Aluminum.
What's aura? Is that some kind of aluminum? The
It's
material?
ornamental fence.
Ornamental fence is aluminum? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the material. It's
What?
not like a structural fence to withstand. I mean, it's more ornamental that someone would
Okay.
use around a property.
Okay.
Great.
So we'll table this. Thank you for allowing us to go walk or,
Sure.
the site.
Amy, you'll get another invite for the next meeting, which will be on May 4th.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you for your time. Board, do you have anything else? You want to move on to the next subject?
Sure.
Sure.
338 North Cleveland Street. Exterior alterations addition. HSR. Okay. House is over 50 years old, so it needed a prospectus. Prospectus found it not be historically significant, and therefore its effect on itself or other structures. I guess there's no structure in the area to be affected by it according to them. I move to receive the report.
Second,
Move to receive HSR, King, seconded by Naylor. Naylor,
yes.
King,
Yes.
Hi, Becky.
Okay.
Morning.
morning.
Becky.
Becky.
Morning.
This is the project we had previously. They're nearly complete with the detached garage. There on the right, and now we're doing phase 2. What is?
The addition floated in your drawing,
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's attached to the house.
but the plan shows the way it
How
really.
is that?
Okay.
So,
Oh my goodness. Yeah, something happened there. So
oh wait,
That's-
it's almost like the house floated because the house looked like it was
It's-
half off the
it's
site.
like an overlay. It's like a bumwad overlay or something.
I think the house floated away. Your underlay showing the house floated away. That's what happened.
I was thinking
Whoa.
we'd do something special on this one.
I didn't think it'd rain that much.
Yeah,
So,
it's an 8x50 trailer you're parking in the back.
What the hell is that?
I think obviously you got to resubmit this to Harry, but if the location of the addition is correct and the house slid.
No, it's just a viewport issue. Like we have an underlay
Right.
and it
That
just
slid over.
it slid over. God.
Okay.
How I didn't see that. I don't know. But so if you go down here, this is, obviously what we're trying to do. The garage is in that upper left-hand corner. We're tackling phase 2 of 3 now. So this is actually really modest addition on the rear of the house. It is the foundation plan. I mean, it's kind of like a raised ranch. So you come in on the upper level in the front.
So they have like a daycare downstairs or something?
Well, not a daycare, but they do homeschool their children and, periodically combine efforts with other homeschooled, children. So actually really quite convenient in this time of COVID where all too many of us are homeschooling our children. God hope they turn out okay.
A little COVID event every day there, huh?
Oh my God, we're not going to solve that today. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for what I'm contributing to society right now, but this is the addition right here on the back. Like I said, pretty straightforward, modest addition to make that basement area work. Now that we have the detached garage, we can kind of close off the existing garage and make it livable space.
Hmm.
So see that?
I get it.
I see. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So just sequentially, we had to do one before the other, and now they're ready to do phase 2, and this is it.
Oh, and so, you guys might want to receive the historic report because there is one and it says it's not historically significant, right? Is that correct, Terry?
That's correct.
Correct. Yeah.
We probably should do that first, huh?
They already did.
Did you
Yeah,
guys
we
already-
moved right through that, George.
You did it?
Yeah.
Where was
Yeah.
that? Was I
I don't
somewhere
know. You
else?
checked
It-
out for
well,
a minute.
It
It
did
was a
happen.
quickie.
It did happen in 10 seconds or less. So you
Wow.
Hey, you
I
know,
just
we
had
are
like
moving it along.
I was like, "Woo." All right, sorry.
you just got distracted by my floating.
Yeah, you were all about the floating.
Here, look
addition
over here.
problem.
That's what I was at. So I guess can you explain your approach? I mean, obviously the windows of this not historic house, but based on its period, are very horizontally oriented. And then you've kind of taken that, and I
Well-
think you've done it around the house by elongating them or bring them down vertically and then pairing casements. So can you just explain?
Correct. Yeah, we are trying to get more light into this house and kind of seizing this opportunity as we put on this back and wanting a lot of glass, wanting to get away from kind of the old-fashioned dated picture window, flanked by 2 casements, doing more of a paired casement approach that's going to run through the house. And will in phase 3 run around the front too. So we're taking, for the most part, the existing openings and trying to, utilize the headers,
Right.
but drop that sill down so that it's at a reasonable height.
So you have
Provides-
like a lot of
provides some
1.5 foot sills there.
These windows, new windows meet egress in the bedrooms, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And they're going to be, aluminum clad wood windows.
What's the siding?
It's going to be hardy. It's vinyl now, or aluminum,
that's nice.
pardon me. So they're definitely upgrading,
Nice.
kind of working around the house and trying to elevate the whole thing. If we
My
were,
comment is, I see this as a consistent approach, and it's also an approach that, does work with the, modern massing, low roof pitch kind of appearance of the house. And if you're doing it consistently around the house, I think that's, could be a nice look.
I think it's a vast improvement. How will the siding work if the front of the house is phase 3 or 4 or something? How will the siding matchup work? Or are you siding the front of the house?
we are trying to figure out the timing of that. We're not trying to balance. There's only one more phase. And if we can pull it into, this phase 2, ideally, that's what we do. There may be just this back addition done now, and then the windows done as part of phase 3. It's kind of like a chicken and egg, because I don't want to, we're going to do a small addition out here in the front, and I don't want to, put all the new hardy on and then just rip it right off, probably 6 months from now.
Oh, we're kind of looking at, this is the long range plan,
Right.
except you just mentioned something about something in the front.
Yeah, there may be a porch addition in the next phase that addresses the second or the upper floor, I guess. So right now we're on the lower floor. We'll do the upper floor. I mean, I can maybe not even say that we're getting this approved and we're going to come back with a, slightly revised front elevation. But, wanting to say this is sort of our approach.
We're not even looking at the other side and front elevations in the submittal, or are they included?
They're all here, yeah.
Yeah, we put,
I'm not, I gotta look at Carrie, can we see the other elevations?
I'm showing you a front elevation right now. Existing.
No, that's
That's existing.
if you just scroll down, yeah.
Yeah, it was on the same page, I believe. They're all on the same page. There you go. Just
Scroll down a
show us
little.
the whole page, right?
There you
Okay.
go. There you
There
go.
you go. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
I think this is this works. I like the concept of where you're headed with this. Eliminating those long horizontal windows does not detract from this, the look of this house whatsoever. If we're, you're asking for us to approve it, I would approve it because it's nicely done. And if they do the back addition and they hold off on the front and something changes on the front, it's just a change to your approved plans. And
Right.
I think we're inserting too much what's going to happen next. If this is what you want to do now and they do it in phases, that's not our issue.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I'm like muddying the waters. I guess want to tell you that phase 3 is moving upstairs and we may have to tweak this, but we're going to be smart about it,
Is this for final?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion?
I think so.
I think so too. Motion for
You-
final
Are you going to
approval.
throw in the front?
Hold on, you got Mr. Childs here. He's joined us. I don't know if Bill wants to say anything.
No comment. I'm good. Thanks.
And hey, before you make your motion, Becky, just as a reminder, a zoning comment. You're talking about homeschooling. Make sure that your property owner reviews chapter 112505 under home occupations, renting of rooms, and make sure they're compliant with zoning on that.
Yeah, they're homeschooling their own children, just like me.
Okay.
And,
There's a
and I
zoning
don't want
code.
to.
Yeah, there's a code that talks about schools, homeschooling.
Yeah, I
Okay?
think, yeah, sure.
Okay, that's it. That's
Everybody's
all.
breaking that right now, Harry, just FYI.
I know, but since you made mention of it, I had to say something.
That's fair.
Because he's live on YouTube.
Yeah, we don't want to have a parking lot in the front yard or anything like.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry.
So motion for final approval of plans as presented.
I second that.
Motion by Naylor, seconded by King. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 5.
Anybody have a sore arm?
Oh my God. Is this your number 1 or number 2?
This was my second one.
Oh, yeah.
Do we want to approve the minutes first or no? Or do we
Oh,
want-
that's a
Oh,
good
yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah.
I don't know if it's regressing, but circling back, Bill, I couldn't vote on last time's minutes because I wasn't here. Motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay. So motion by Naylor, seconded by Childs to approve the minutes. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Abstain.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
$55 Similac Hills, accessory structure. By the way, I Googled detached, and Google says detached.
Oh, Google, that
Detached.
must be right.
So unless we're in central Ohio, it's detached garage.
Thank you for that clarification. Detached.
So
Like
you
an
moved
eye.
it back and over?
We shrank it ever so slightly, moved it back so that we're behind the overhang of the existing house, being the rear plane. Our overhang was in line with the rear of the building before. Now our overhang is behind the overhang of the main building.
So it's behind the rear building line is,
Great. Well,
Right.
so if
Yeah.
it meets zoning now, we liked it before, so this could be a quick one. Because nothing else has changed on this garage, correct?
No, it looks great.
Yep.
Correct.
Move to approve them.
Second?
okay. Motion by Childs, seconded by King to approve the detached garage.
No.
Detached.
no.
Detached.
Detached.
Yeah.
Attached.
Just make the E an I, and I think you'll get it right. Detached.
Actually, if you move to Wadsworth, it is detached.
Childs,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Thank
Natalie
you.
says yes
Thank you.
too.
All
Very
right,
good.
that concludes your regular agenda. I don't know if there's anybody who wants to walk in.
Only walk in on sunny days.
Right.
If there are any folks that are walking in today, if you would use the raise your hand function in Zoom to let us know. We don't have anything on the agenda or we're not informed ahead of time.
Very good.
Beautiful.
No hands.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Hey,
you.
everyone
Thank
have a
you.
nice day.